Before we get started, I just want to say that this video is spoiler-free. Some of you may be wondering why this video is spoiler-free when I'm comparing it directly to other versions of the game, and the reason for that is because I imagine that there's plenty of people out there wondering which version of the game they should get, especially since they all vary in content and gameplay styles. Persona 3 is a game with 4 different versions as of 2024, and Reload is the newest version of this game, being a remake from the ground up. For me, remakes shouldn't be treated as replacements for the original, rather a new version of the game so maybe modern audiences can enjoy it, or so old fans can re-experience their game in a new light. Personally, I always thought a Persona 3 remake would be a really good idea, as it could take all of the content from these two and put them in a remake, and we could have a definitive version of Persona 3. Did they do that? Well, let's see. Let's talk about Persona 3 Reload. The story of Persona 3 is considered one of the best of modern Persona games, and that's for good reason. The story here is definitely darker than ones you'd see in other RPGs, dealing with themes of life and death, and how these things affect you and the people around you. I think most stories are best experienced blind, so if what I said before interests you, skip to the next part of this video. Okay, still here? In Persona 3, you play as a student who just transferred to Gekkoukan High School. On your way to the dorm, you experience a hidden hour called the Dark Hour that occurs between the end of the current day and the start of the next. Not everyone experiences this hour, but during this time, monsters known as shadows appear and will attack people, and if they're attacked, they will start suffering from something called apathy syndrome, which essentially makes you a husk without the ability to care for yourself. Also during the Dark Hour, Gekkoukan High School transforms into this game's one and only dungeon, Tartarus. You join a school group known as Cease, with the hopes of exploring Tartarus and eliminating the Dark Hour. Of course, this is an RPG, so your party members are very important to the story, and feel like they all provide different perspectives and experiences on the game's main themes. I think all of the main party members here are amazing, and I think everybody will find someone they resonate with. The story here is unchanged from the original. Hell, the script is, in general, largely one-to-one with the original, with just some touch-ups here or there to get a better translation from Japanese to English. There is new stuff here, like the Link episodes with male party members, which you could not hang out with your male party members as a male in the original and in the portable version. One thing here that is massively improved from the original is obviously the presentation of the story, this being a remake from the ground up. They replaced some previously 2D cutscenes with now 3D cutscenes. Like, here's you awakening to your persona in the original.
sea of thy soul I come. I am Orpheus, master of strings.
As we suspected.
And here it is in Reload.
Go on. Persona. I am thou. Thou art I. From the sea of thy soul I come. I am Orpheus, master of strings.
Just as we thought.
Obviously, which one you prefer is up to personal preference, but I personally prefer when games have these in-game cutscenes, these 3D ones instead of 2D animated ones. Now, that's not to say I hate 2D cutscenes or anything. I just think it's a bit jarring going from 2D to 3D, especially if a scene is super emotional. And I'm glad Atlas is using more of these 3D cutscenes. I just think 2D is better suited for openings and endings. Now, I know I just said that I prefer these 3D cutscenes, but they definitely need some work. Now, I'm no animator or anything like that, but I think the main problem is that their motions have no weight to them. Like this scene here where you pull Junpei aside, and if they just fixed that one issue of the motions being a bit weightless, I think that these cutscenes can be elevated even further. But yeah, other than that, we're done with the. Oh, we'll get to you later. This game has a brand new English dub featuring a new English voice cast. And just to be clear, I have nothing against these new voice actors or anything, but when the old cast has been voicing these characters since 2006 and had been playing them as recently as 2018, yeah, it can take a while to get used to. The old English cast I was mostly fond of, mostly.
Hiko-senpai is in trouble!
It can be a bit jarring hearing a new voice come out of an old character. Obviously, if you're new to Persona 3 or just playing Japanese, but even those people who do play in Japanese had no way of playing the original P3 and P3 Fests in Japanese, and dual audio was only added to last year's re-release of Portable. So English was the only option for most of us who played the original. But the new dub isn't terrible. In fact, I actually enjoyed it quite a bit. Just a few characters I think were miscast, like Yukari.
Ace Detective? You're so dumb. More like Stupe, Ace Defective.
Who doesn't sound as snappy as she did in the original, or Ken, who sounds a lot older than I think he should, in my opinion.
But come to think of it, I guess I don't have to practice in secret anymore. Although...
And I guess just because she doesn't have the whole voice change thing, but that's kind of delving into spoilers, so I don't really want to talk about that, and that might have just been a direction thing.
I will be joining in the operations to explore Tartarus. I am ready for deployment.
But there are some other characters who knock it out of the park. Akihiko's new voice is one I thought that I wouldn't like, especially since this is a pretty big departure from the original, but I ended up loving his performance.
I've gotten a lot of my edge back since I've been able to focus on my training.
But the two standouts here, in my opinion, are Mitsuru's voice actor, who does such an amazing job that I actually had a hard time remembering what her original voice sounded like.
A subtle complexity. Yes, this is quite delicious.
And Fuka, who, yeah, honestly, no matter what, that was gonna be an improvement.
Sorry, I know you probably aren't very hungry at this hour, but, happy if you'd maybe give it a taste.
Another plus of the new dub and just new voice acting in general is that all the social links are fully voiced, which makes these characters stand out so much more and adds to the quality of the game. Shout out to Yuko in particular for the social link side. If you've played Persona 5, you'll feel right at home here. The main dungeon in this game, Tartarus, has floors that are randomly generated, like they were in the original, but unlike the original, each block has its own unique generation, which I think helps the flow of the game. It feels a lot better to explore Tartarus, and in the original, it was kind of like a dread to go explore Tartarus, but in this one, I was actually really excited to always go to Tartarus and go knock out a block of Tartarus in one night. And honestly, with these changes, I would say that it feels like a pretty different game compared to both FES and Portable, despite every version of Persona 3 being turn-based. Obviously, with FES, you could not control your party members. That thankfully does not return in Reload. You have full control just like you did in Portable, but Portable didn't have these two big features. Those being the new shift mechanic, which is just Persona 5's baton pass with a new name, meaning when you down someone with a weakness, you can pass to a different party member and they can take over the turn, and you can keep that going until everybody's knocked down or until everybody is defeated. And 3G skills, which are ultimates for each character. Some people think adding stuff like this can trivialize the game, but for me, having more options in battle is always a plus. And these 3G skills are, yeah, they're pretty broken, but I feel like they just give you something else to use while exploring Tartarus, and I think it just makes the game more fun, which is, at the end of the day, what matters. Your navigator, Fuka, has gotten a huge buff in almost every way. While exploring Tartarus, you have now a few different things to pick from that will use up her SP, and I don't think I have footage for this because I honestly didn't use it. But in battle, Fuka can analyze the enemy like previous navigators and like she could before, but now it takes up SP and is just quicker. And I like this better because then he can't, exploit the analyze ability and just find out the weakness. You have to manage her SP too. And like her fellow Cease members in battle, she has her own 3G, which is honestly crazy what her 3G can do, and honestly might just be the best in the game. From what I can tell, it isn't random. Like when everybody was low on SP, she'd usually restore SP or health or both, mostly both. But there were times where I could have used a charge instead, but she did something else. Either way, her 3G makes exploring Tartarus a lot easier, and I didn't even use that many SP items while I was there, and she just no matter what she gives you, it's honestly gonna be good. Now I have brought up difficulty a little bit during this, and for me, I think a game doesn't have to be hard to be fun. But yeah, this game is definitely a lot easier than the other versions of P3 and even Persona 5 Royal, which I thought was the easiest Persona game. So that kind of makes this one the easiest Persona game now. I played this game on hard and had no trouble going through the game. And this isn't a complaint, but I don't think I ever saw a game over screen. There is a harder difficulty, Merciless, and that's the hardest mode in the game. But I'm not sure how hard that is just because I didn't play on it, and I had a pretty good time on hard. One last thing I think is worth mentioning is that the original had a fatigue system, meaning you and your party members would get tired and essentially would just perform worse in battle. Like, your accuracy would be dramatically lowered and they would take longer to get up if they were downed. It essentially just made them a lot worse in general. And if you went back to floor 1, they would automatically just leave your party, just abandon you. Yeah. This system is gone entirely in Reload, which isn't too surprising considering Persona 4 and 5 didn't have this mechanic. And the stuff that revolves around the mechanic in Reload has been retooled For instance, in the original game, if you were tired after a visit to Tartarus, you could sleep in class to become rested again, or visit the nurse the day after and drink his mysterious drink. Now both of these things just give you courage instead. This plays into the other half of the game, where you'll be going to school, managing your time, getting points for your social stats like courage, like I mentioned before, and hanging out with your social links. By hanging out with these social links, you can obtain bonuses to the persona you fuse that have the same arcana, and eventually when you reach rank 10 with them, you could fuse the best persona in that arcana. Now, they didn't add anything new for these social links, because in 4 and 5 you could level up these social links and they'd get bonuses that would help you out in battle, especially 5, which would just change the game, you know, like Ryuji's ability where you could just dive into someone and a weaker enemy and it would just kill them. There's nothing like that here, which I mean it's fine. I don't really mind. So instead of like some people would go for social links they wouldn't like that, you know, just give them a nice gameplay benefit, here you could just kind of go for the ones that you want. Obviously if you want to fuse like really good personas, I'd, you know, do all of them. But if it's your first time playing a game like this, it might be hard to manage your time that well. I know when I first played Persona 5, I definitely did not do every social link. I don't think I even started every social link. I think I forgot like the president guy who sat at the station. But yeah, I actually think the half dungeon crawling turn-based RPG and half life sim game that Persona has been since the original 3 came out has never been more balanced than in Reload. It felt like as soon as I was getting tired of the life sim elements, there was another block of Tartarus waiting for me to explore, and vice versa, of course. I personally believe that graphics don't make games. What really matters for me is the story and the gameplay. But since this is a remake, I do want to talk about the graphics. And yeah, this I think this game looks pretty good. I played on PS5 and it ran beautifully at 4K 60. And I'm sure there's some dynamic scaling there, but there wasn't a moment where I thought, oh, this looked kind of blurry or anything like that. Nothing I could notice. And I play on a 50-inch display about 4 feet away, so take that as you will. But there's one problem I have in the game, is that the lighting is a bit flat, which is weird because this is an Unreal 4 game and Unreal Engine is just kind of known for it enhancing lighting. But yeah, like look at the dorm. I don't know, it should not be this bright in here. It's nighttime. But yeah, other than outside of Tartarus, I think the inside of Tartarus looks fantastic. I think you could still say the lighting looks a bit flat, but it's definitely more dynamic than it is outside of Tartarus. Persona has always been known for its fantastic music. Hell, it's been playing throughout this video, and Persona 3 is no different. Though Reload decided to redo the whole soundtrack, and I don't think any of the songs redone are better than the original. At best, I think they're about the same quality, like Changing Seasons. Or kind of worse, like Mass Destruction. Or When the Moon's Reaching Out Stars, which I find significantly worse than the original.
I never felt like so miserable. I never knew I'd thinking
And I don't think this would be as big of a problem if I could just pick the original soundtrack, but I can't, which I think is a huge missed opportunity. I think a lot of remakes and remasters have done a good job of letting you pick the original soundtrack over the new one. Obviously, I won't go over every song, and no hate towards the new vocalist. In fact, I think she's fantastic. I'm just not a fan of the new versions of these songs that much, the old songs. But with this remake, we also have new songs, all of which I think are absolutely fantastic. Obviously, the new opening, Full Moon, Full Life, which you heard at the beginning of this video. Honestly, it might be my favorite Persona opening, like, ever now. And Color Your Night, which is a new song that'll play when you're out and about at nighttime. And my personal favorite, the new ambush theme, It's Going Down Now. But yeah, overall, I think the OST in this game is fantastic, and I'll definitely be listening to it all the time from now on. Yeah, I'm just gonna come out and say it. No. There's too much missing here to say it's the definitive version. So now we just have a fourth version of the game. But I just want to be clear, I really love this game, and I thought it was genuinely fantastic. For me, it's 100% up there for my personal game of the year this year. But honestly, this isn't really what I wanted from a Persona 3 remake. Like many others, I wanted this remake to happen so we could have two pieces of major content in one place. So yeah, we could finally talk about you. Okay, so quick history lesson. The original Persona 3 was released for the PS2 in 2006 in Japan, 2007 in North America, and 2008 in Europe. A re-release called Persona 3 FES was released in 2007 in Japan, and 2008 in North America and Europe. Oh, well, Europe got both releases of Persona 3 in 2008. That's kind of weird. I didn't know that. But Persona 3 FES features new content and changes to the base game. Now, the base game is called The Journey, or Episode Yourself in Japan, and a new epilogue called The Answer, or Episode I guess in Japan. Okay, so now we have a definitive version of Persona 3, right? No. No. In 2009, a PSP version of the game launched in Japan, 2010 in North America, and 2012 in Europe. This featured controllable party members. Yeah, because remember, in these two, you can only control the protagonist. But that's not all they added. They added a brand new female protagonist who isn't just a gender swap of the male character. No, she actually has her own unique dialogue choices, as well as her very own exclusive social links, and her own Velvet Room attendee. Well, I guess that last one isn't as impressive, but nonetheless, they did quite a bit to make sure her path was unique. Now, obviously, as you can see, the game had to be downgraded so it could run on PSP hardware. Tartarus was the only 3D explorable area in the game. Anything outside of that was now presented in a 2D visual novel style. And that includes previously animated cutscenes. They're also now presented in this visual novel style. And now you may think that while the presentation isn't the best in this version, it has the most content, yeah? It has all of it included. No, because this version of the game doesn't have the answer. Now, Persona 3 Portable was the one that got a port last year, and yeah, the port isn't the best, but it's not completely unplayable. And then Reload came out without the answer and without the female protagonist and her exclusive content. Now, before the game came out, the developer said that the answer and the female protagonist weren't included because Reload was a remake of the original Persona 3. Yeah, the one that we already said was inferior to the FES version. But that was a lie. Okay, let's be fair now. Maybe the articles were mistranslated or something. I don't know. But just a couple weeks ago, we got news that the answer was coming to Reload via a new paid expansion pass. So according to developers, they weren't gonna remake it originally, but then people kept asking for it, so they decided to sell it as separate DLC. Yay, right? For $35. Okay, let's be fair. The answer is only wave 3 of the expansion pass, so it has 2 other waves, so maybe the female protagonist is in one of these waves. I mean, the game is already $70, but I know game development is expensive, and they'd have to re-record lines as well as cast new people for the female route, so maybe the extra $35 I'm paying makes sense. Let me just check.
Oh, hell no, man. What?
Oh. That's it? Well, I guess I can finally live Nanako's dream of listening to Persona 4's June S theme while roaming Tartarus.
I can't believe this. Crap, this is bad.
Okay, so while I was editing this, they actually revealed new information on the expansion pass for episode, I guess, the answer. So it'll have new events for Metis, 2 types of third Gs, a new third G for Aegis, the Persona Compendium, an unaltered ending, 2 new songs, and an opening animation, which is nice to see that there's some new stuff here for the price we're paying, and an estimated playtime of 20 hours. Now, they did apologize for not having any content for the female protagonist in Persona 3 Reload, and they talked about how they wanted to include her, but it was too expensive. It would have been more expensive than remaking the answer like they did here, and they wouldn't recuperate their costs from the expansion pass for if they made that. But something about the way they talked about it here, it makes me feel like that we will see a Persona 3 re-release with this stuff added eventually, like a Persona 3 Reload Royal or something, you know, just another re-release, because this is a bit of new territory for Atlas, having a modern day remake of an older game. So re-releasing a remake with new content, I wouldn't put it past them, because they've re-released every single game that they've like put out for the past like 10 years has been re-released in some way or some form. But I guess we'll see. Back to the video. Okay, all jokes aside, this is a pretty bad deal. The base game is already $70 no matter where you go, whether it be on PS5, Series X, or PS4 or PC. And on top of that, asking for another $35, that's $105, not including tax. And if you want to experience the female route, you'll have to buy a whole other version of Persona 3, which is $20. So, not including tax, if you want to experience everything Persona 3 has to offer story-wise, it'll be $125. So yeah, while Persona 3 Reload isn't the definitive version of Persona 3 that I and many others wanted, it definitely isn't the definitive version for your wallet. I'd still say it's probably the best way to play Persona 3 right now, as FES isn't available on modern consoles and portable is... yeah, well, it's portable. And while I did complain about the expansion pass, I'll probably buy it to review it on this channel. But if you're perhaps curious about why the female protagonist was left out, I'd recommend this video by Otaku Defined. I think they helped me better understand the situation, and I even learned some things that I think you guys will find interesting. I also want to shout out the FEMC Reloaded project, which is a fan mod that is adding the female protagonist to Reload. I'm not sure how far along it is right now, but I'll leave a link to it below if you want to check it out if you're on PC and you want to play as the female protagonist in Reload. But yeah, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching the video. This is my first time doing something like this, and I hope it turned out watchable. But yeah, thank you so much, and I'll see you guys in the next video.